for why we're doing, right? So, Kimbra, Jake, and myself, we call ourselves the Market 1, 2, and 3 Dream Team, and we just made that up, right? But we collaborated on, okay, what do we want to do different for our districts in 2026? And there's just some magic that happens when we collaborate as a team. And also the cross-pollination between on these calls, you get to know other people in different districts, and we're all under the Western Region umbrella now, right? So for those of you in Kansas City, sorry, I can't say Central Region, even though technically it is, but you're under Jody Wilson now, and we're the Western Region. So anyway, so we just really, all talked and said, hey, let's do this effort where every other month of the year for 2026, we have, and it's going to go every other month. This month's a life month, right? So we just wanted to bring out an extra kind of life training, a life focus. Hear from a current agent that is very successful in that area. And also, for me, I like to bring on 2 speakers. It's not going to be like that all the time, but that's just, I find a lot of value in that, so that they can kind of, just like Allison said, her and Roger work very well together, and Roger supports her greatly. So I'd love to have both of them on so we can get different perspectives, right? And out of that, you're going to walk away with something that you can take and implement your business immediately. And that is our goal, right? So calendar invites will be going out. They're going to come. So all 3 of us aren't sending invites. They're going to come from me. So I'm going to send out the Crushing Life and Investment series. And that is, it's going to be set the 3rd Tuesday of every month. All right, so just for an hour. So so when you get that, and it's from me, if you're not in my district, you're like, it's me. All right, so you want to accept it, great, and get in on the series so it's on your calendar. So those will be going out later this afternoon. And next up in February, Kimbra is the one that Kimbra will be hosting, and it'll be an investment series. So she'll have a speaker on or pick some subject in the investment side. So every other month, you're going to get some training, some support in the life and investments area. All right. So with that being said, I would love to introduce our 2 speakers today. So Allison Brock, she's one of our Cascades district agents, and she's in Bend, Oregon. Beautiful Bend, Oregon. Central Oregon is amazing. And I have known Allison for a whopping 8 months, right? As I have transitioned into being the Cascades district leader. And I've really enjoyed, Allison and I have connected very well, and really enjoy just watching her intentionality with her clients, all the opportunities that she creates on the life and investment side for herself and her agency. And her clients love her, absolutely love her, and love working with her. And she brings so much experience to the table. So I wanted to have her on this call. And Allison, give us just a brief little history on how long you've been with Fundtree, and also, talk about all some big rocks that along the way, that like buying your building, partnering with another country agent, like those things that have been dramatic things in the cadence of your agency that have been very positive things, right?
Sure, thanks. Well, thank you so much for that very kind welcome and introduction. And it's an honor to be here today and get to speak with all of you. So I appreciate you having me on the call. I started in 2007, so 18 years ago. I had no idea what this industry was at all. I couldn't have told you the difference between a stock and a bond.
Hey, if somebody is not muted, can we just make sure everyone's muted on the call? Sorry, Allison.
That's the difference. So I started with literally no experience at all, and just ran really hard to get to stay. Bill Miller hired me. I worked for him until Christine took over, which we're very, very happy to have Christine. But we just worked hard. I didn't grow up here. I was in front of a family here, so I, bought junk leads and worked them until they told me never to call them again. I partnered with the contractor training class here locally. I've been doing that for about 17 years. I just had another class last week, but that's been a huge opportunity for me to get to speak to new business owners and then cross sell.
So So Allison, real quick, you referred to that. What exactly is that? So everyone on the call knows exactly what you're doing.
So what I did when I was a brand new little baby rep, I discovered that we were really competitive at that time with contractors. And I was like, man, what do I do for these guys, right? So I found out who was teaching the CCB, the construction contractor board certification class, so they can get licensed at a local community college, and I just bugged them. And I said, hey, I just want to be helpful. I talked about insurance and bonding, and they were like, no, we don't want a salesperson in our classroom. And I said, I'm not salesy, I'm just here to help. I'm not, my background is education. And so really for the last like 17 years, I get to go in and be a guest speaker. It's awesome. So statistically, I get about 20 to 25% of those students that becoming my clients. So it's a really good return on investment of my time. But I don't pitch country, I don't pitch me. I'm really just there to help educate, answer questions, help them understand what do they need, what they're looking for, what kind of questions should they be asking the person they're working with. And my goal is just to position myself as an expert. So, that way when their person doesn't call them back or doesn't speak commercial, they call me, right? So, and then through that avenue, I've had a lot of opportunities to some pretty good life cases and financial planning cases.
Well, that's awesome. I wanted you to specifically talk about that since you brought that up, because that's a great idea, right? That's something that everyone on this call could actually duplicate.
And I honestly, there was like Fagan's here in town. I tried to do the same thing there at the beauty school. I didn't get in. But if you have it in, like if you know somebody that's got an avenue with any kind of a class that's teaching business owners, I mean, that's such a great opportunity for us to get in front of people that, I always just say, hey, let's do your insurance and the bond and all the things, and like, now what are we gonna do now that you're self-employed? And then I just shut up. And they're like, oh yeah, so then it's like, it's on them to be like, oh yeah, what do I do? And I'm like, cool, let's talk about life insurance. Let's talk about 401k or rolling over your old one or whatever it is. So
oh, that's great. So continue. No, I was gonna say, make sure you mention about how you found your office and what the background on that.
Sure. So I'm sure a lot of you know Eric Jansen. He's my Dutch brother. He's from Holland, so I'm not Dutch, but he and I have grown up together. We've worked together in the trenches here for 18 years, and neither one of us grew up here, right? So we both just worked really hard when we were new to survive, and we started very organically, like, hey, I'll cover you while you're out of town, I'll cover you while I'm out of town. So we kind of built this friendship partnership over the years of, we both like hire somebody part-time together, or we split a big 401k plan together. We built a lot of trust, and so for a long time we looked for a building. And so I'm forever grateful to him and his wife. They were paying attention. I was not. I was juggling into the pandemic and over the new baby, my third child in 2020. And they called me and said, hey, we found the building, and I was like, oh my God, like right now. So I'm just really lucky that they were paying attention to understand when I was not, but we found this incredible spot right downtown Bend. It's so cute and very private. It's a lot of fun to have our own space. So that was definitely a huge step forward for us to invest in our own building and be able to kind of brand ourselves differently and build it the way we wanted to. So
yeah, and I wanted you to highlight that only because of there's some people on the call probably that are, newer, or they're just renting a space right now and really thinking holistically as a business owner, like having a vision for what you want that to look like. And also the partnership that you have with Eric Jansen, and he's one of our top producers as well, in our district. So it's helpful to have somebody like-minded, and it's just ideas, right? And I'm sure those life ideas happen to in conversation with each other. So, and you push each other.
I mean, this is a hard business, right? So having like I said, like a buggy in the trenches, right? Where it's like the high highs can celebrate the low lows. You're like, oh man, I got love, right? So that camaraderie for me has been really helpful. But also, there's so much power in people you surround yourself with. I'm lucky to be a part of a really great study group. But I really, over the years, I've really been intentional about eliminating negativity in my relationships, especially here. So, I'm not here to complain. We don't control a lot of things. And so I enjoy being around people who are driven and are also focused on the future and aren't going to spend time and energy on stuff they can't control. So very much appreciate that energy.
Can I just get a round of applause for that comment? But you did mention your study group, so this is kind of how these sessions will go, because as I'm facilitating these, you're bringing up stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want you to talk about that, because if I think about everyone on the call, you're all in positions where you can collaborate with other people, right? You're not alone. You're not alone in this. So, Allison, talk about the study group and the impact that has made. Like, when did you guys form that, and what has been the results of those relationships that you've had over the years?
Sure, thanks. I'm just very fortunate to be a part of it. These people are the best of the best. I think I've been a part of it for probably maybe I don't know 9 or 10 years now. But a few of them were meeting before that. But I met them at like my NAC meeting. So it's for me, it's just gonna well, we all know like this stuff's a roller coaster, right? So like, you know, the ups and downs and being able to maintain focus, maintain just drive and just knowing what it wants. Time, I think, is really important. We were just recently speaking at a conference. You know, me and mine was back in the district market briefing, and the young person, they told us that the 10 of us in our we have 20% of our company's assets under management, which is a lot. So you know, I'm one of the lower ones on that list, but still, it's awesome to be able to you know kind of just like trade ideas and stuff. Maybe bring so for me, it definitely makes me better.
Yeah. Well, you had a big year last year. I mean, you know, no skin off your nose, rolling a little over $4 million over. Probably that number's a little off, but lots of millions. Let's just put it that way. So, who are some of the people in your study group? Just to name a few.
We've been really intentional of keeping it half male and half female, so that there's a good balance there. Lori Adams, I would like to be Lori Adams when I grow up. She's in that group. Andrea Romero, Diana Hoverson, and then Sarah Melander and I are and then Trey Berkey, Scott Jackson, who I don't know if you know him, he's an awesome, mostly a big financial guy. Steve Perch, Jamie Imus, and gosh, can't even think.
Well, that's a good crew.
Frederick Rocher. Yeah, it's hilarious. So there's 10 of us in there. That's a lot of fun, and everybody kind of brings something different, which is helpful. But if you don't have a study group, do that. Get some people that you can brainstorm with once a month. Positive.
Yeah, and it's helpful, right? Because you're all rowing the boat in the same direction, and you get ideas from each other, and that's a great thing. So Allison, what would you say is probably your most successful life approach? Right. So everyone on the call is looking for some life advice, right? How do I increase that part of my business? And so what would you say has been your most successful approach with either clients or prospects when it comes to the life space?
No, I actually was I had a little small business yesterday and helping them get enrolled in a 401k that we're setting up for them. And this is a small counseling office. There's like 6 employees. So I went over there, could explain the 401k, talked about the nuts and bolts of it, and I was meeting with each of them for 10 minutes to grab a little bit of information. And, you know, one of the women that I was talking to is getting her some 401k, we're talking about risk and all the things. And my goal in that is just to be useful, right? Like, I don't want them to feel pressured, and I just want them to know that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm here to help. So, you know, as we're talking, she's talking about her husband, and they're going to buy, so they don't want to put in more than 2% right now because they're going to be buying a new house, okay? She wants to have a new baby, so I'm like listening. So then at the end, we get the information, and then I said, well, no, do you guys already have your life insurance in place? I said, you know, obviously you're having a new baby, you guys got that figured out. And then kind of just assuming that they're talking about this is part of her thing, right? She says, oh yeah, that's on our list, we got to do that. And I was like, great. How much coverage do you want now? How much do you want when you're old, and how much do you want to spend, right? Let me just kind of jump into that, where it just becomes this like, oh, you need this, I know you need this, you have 2 babies and a house, and a husband is not making a lot of money, like you need life insurance, right? So I think just be comfortable asking those questions. You know, in my career, I've paid death claims for young moms. I've only paid death claims for women in their 30s for happy luck, I don't know why. But I take that really seriously, and I think that back in the day, you know, a lot more women were stay-at-home spouses. The earners were a lot of the husband. I think there was a lot less emphasis on the value of having life insurance on her, or on the statement spouse, and I think that that's changing, right? Like, women are equal earners in many situations at this point, and that conversation has to be happening. I think it's also really important when people say, oh, she said this, oh, my husband got to her. They said, cool, how much of that does he have control over? She's like, I have no idea. I'm like, right, because he doesn't. So what would you want to have control over? So people really have absolutely no idea, in my experience. Like, most people have no idea what they have, what it means, what it's any of it. And so just to be able to be comfortable asking those questions, be comfortable, making them uncomfortable, right? Like, this is important stuff. And at the end of the day, if you're not asking that question, like, who's really having that honest conversation with them?
I love that.
So anytime there's like a retirement plan opportunity, like, I'm going to be talking about, like, do you already have your other benefit set up, right? Like, think about that. Like, corporations offer life insurance. They're going to offer the 401k. When we're working with a small business owner, they have to create that benefit package, right? And so that's what our job is to help them figure out, now you're self-employed, how do we want to replace your benefits? You're not asking to, or assuming, of course, they want benefits. How do we want to replace the benefits?
Yeah. So is there a particular list, like if you're playing offense, right? You're going out, you're trying to bring in new clients. You did already give a scenario of working with a small business owner on the 401k side and then pivoting in that space, which that's beautiful. Love it. Because they're automatic, hopefully, clients at that point. They trust you with that. If you're playing offense with your team, right? You have how many people on your team? Let's talk about that a little bit. Okay.
3 people.
And
They're fantastic.
they are. If you have a great team. If you're playing offense on the life side, are there any particular life lists that are priority for you that maybe, hey, we're working this because of this reason, or we do this every year. My clients know I'm going to be calling big on conversion. So what are some of those that you're like, I play offense with this is what I do?
We have worked with the conversion list, and that's something that is kind of on the, I don't want to say back burner, but it's been there, where it's like, the truth is that we've been so busy that we haven't really had a chance to play a lot of offense last year. I'm looking forward to being able to be more proactive this year. But yeah, things like turn conversion list, things like expiring turn lists, things like beneficiary to update lists, all of those types of things. I think, I'm sure that Bend isn't unique in that we've had so much friction with our reps recently. We've had some turnover. And so I've inherited some clients. It's funny, I always thought they all got trained the same, but I've inherited some clients that I've had, and they've said, well, nobody's ever explained this before. That's so interesting, right? So I think, especially when you have an assigned client, right? Like, these are people who may not even know what they bought 20 years ago. They may not still have the current beneficiary. But there's so much of that out there that, like, we have these lists of people who've been here for any given time. You've got some clients that probably just need something for them. So
yeah. And I know I'm looking right next to you on my screen is JR Guthrie, and he's in our district, and I know he's had huge success with that beneficiary list. Huge success with that. Lots of life apps being input, because in the state of Oregon, like, it is hugely important that you make sure you have the correct beneficiaries listed, because no matter what, that death claim is paid out to whoever is listed on there. So how many of you on the call have, life clients that have been life clients for 20 years, and does the beneficiary still apply in that situation? So I'm so glad you brought that up. On kind of working with Roger, you mentioned that in the very beginning. So this is a great time to talk about the importance of working with your financial specialist or a team, a joint work, anytime you would need that. So what are some of the things that you love most about working? How does Roger help you on the life and financial end?
Sure. Well, for that, Roger's fantastic. Really hard. And I really appreciate all the time that I get to have with him, because he's very, very good at what he does. So, Roger, for me, has been so helpful in a lot of taking some of the paperwork and some of the follow-up. So for some clients, I'll say, hey, I had a hard time moving this 401k account. I'm gonna have my financial specialist partner give you a call. He's my honey badger, and he'll work with you to call Loya, get them to move that same account that we've been trying to get for 3 months, right? So he's really good with that kind of stuff, where then he'll email the client, get a schedule, and they'll going to a call. And it's not that I'm too important, but I am. And so that's and do that, right? So he's so helpful in that kind of stuff. Same thing with like QX, and I've heard from other financial specialists like that stuff. And so, I don't know that that's something that Roger has time for a lot of times, but I think that, that's a huge resource for us. That is information that, frankly, as a financial special advisor, the onus has been put on us, especially in the last 10 years, for all the clients, all the disclosures, all of the things we're doing. It's a lot, and if you don't have the time or the bandwidth for that, it's going to be pretty daunting. For me, where I'm good with brainstorming with the client. I like to sit down with them. I want to get to know who they are. I look at what we do as like financial counseling. I want to know how they feel about their money. I want to know how they feel about risk. I want to know how they feel about the market. I want to know all those things, because within about 10 minutes, we're talking about their health, their debt, their marriage, their money, their debt, their dreams. And we get so personal so fast. That's what I want to have time to do, right? Like, I want to have time to know all of those pieces, because you guys know this. I mean, I have a doctor who makes 800 grand a year, and she'll call me and say, "Can I call?" And I'm like, "Buy all the cars." And then I have a guy who's comfortable carrying as much credit card debt as he earns in a year. Well, but it's fascinating, right? And so think about that. Like, people learn about money from their parents, right? Whether it's good or bad. So you're either going to have confidence or fear based on how you were raised. And so that dictates everything in that relationship. So I want to have time to vet, to know who I'm working with and what they really need. And then I need my team, like Roger. I mean, I forwarded 2 statements this morning to my financial team at the home office, like my advanced planning team. So I'm like, hey guys, here's a vision opportunity. Here's all the statements. This is what I know about my client. When do you have 20 minutes, right? Because I want to know from them. I want the Morningstar assessment of here's what they have now. Here's what we would be suggesting. Fees, performance, all those pieces. And then I want to know, like, let's give them a proposal, a vision, so they can see what we can do, right? But I cannot do that stuff, and I just simply am one human. So I don't know.
Allison, do you have a favorite life product that you like?
Yeah, I like the LP65. I think that one is one I've had a lot of success with my business owners, especially my mortgage reverse. If they don't want to be in the market, cool, let's throw $5 or $10 grand a year into this LP65. It's great off the tire, you're happy, right? So that I think is a really great product when we can get somebody that's like 30, 40 in there. That's a great product. I love selling a 20K, $100 a month, 20K to anybody with a baby. Like, you want to spend $100 a month on your kid? Let's do it here. I just reviewed one with somebody. They're going to take 24 grand over 20 years, and then you're worth like 800 grand to the grandkids someday. That's the smart, right? So if you can explain that to people, oh, you're going to grandbaby? Want to save $100 a month for? Let me show you how to do it the smart way, right? There's just so many opportunities to do that kind of thing. And then, the Roth that we have is so good, right? I mean, that's such an easy sale, right? Like, somebody, if I'm working with somebody who's not a good saver, I'm like, you have to do this, because otherwise you have nothing in 20 years, and this way you'll have 60 grand in 20 years, right? So they understand that, well, this is a forced savings, right? I mean, that's literally a zero cost over time policy. It's amazing, right? So here's this 30-year term for $1 million, and if you don't die, you do all your money back. Like, they love that. So unless I'm working with someone that can afford it, I don't think I've sold a term without the Roth in a long time.
No, I love that, because here's what I'm hearing from you is you know your client so well that then you know what to propose to them based on their habits, right? You just mentioned somebody who can't save. So, hey, we're putting you in a Roth, but here's why. Here's why you're going to do it. It's assuming the sale. You have that trust factor there. So they're going to listen to you because you're their advisor, and that's how you act, So I hope everyone's picking up on that on the call of be confident in how it is that you're leading your clients. That's what I'm hearing from Allison. Right?
It's funny, I think that it takes time to feel confident, but, I just had a call last week with a client who said, oh, my CPA said I can fund this, Stovall 401k, and I said, no, you have points. She said, oh, no, and anyway, I'm listening, and I'm like, that's not correct. So I sent an email, and I just said, hey, I'm not a CPA, but I'm pretty sure. And then the next day I got an email back from the CPA saying, oh, yeah, realtors, and I'm just like, so I think that over time you get confident, you get more confident being able to say like, no, this isn't correct, and I'm gonna challenge that because you're not getting good advice. And honestly, I have a lot of people that don't get good advice. I mean, I'm dealing with another one right now where somebody, her husband left his 401k was the process beneficiary instead of her. And that's just bad lawyer, So be confident that I guess get comfortable like asking those questions and be confident challenging some of them because it's a lot of times it's not correct.
Yeah. Roger, I'm gonna bring you in on the conversation. And I want you to tell everyone what is your favorite part of working with Allison? Because I know obviously she's already said that you guys work very closely together. What would you say, Jason? Well, hi, Jarka.
That is true. She's very unique and awesome to work with. So, and definitely, like if I get a note from her, I'm like, oh, that's Allison before I even see who it's from. I definitely know in the tone and everything. But love working with her and Janssen there in Bend, and again, I have the very fortunate opportunity to work with all of Oregon, Idaho, Iowa, part of Missouri, and elsewhere as the country needs me on there. And again, for everybody on the call today, of course, you've got Marcy, you've got Dennis. I met Marcy 25 years ago now when I was a trainer and she was a brand new agent in Vegas many years ago. And then Dennis there for Market 3. It's definitely just, he's different style than me, but that guy knows more than I could ever know, and he runs circles around me. But back to your question about working with Allison, she is just so good at finding opportunities, and that's the thing that I try to instill in other financial advisors and referral agents alike. Like you said, you just got to ask questions. You just got to question it. And I call it your IQ, your I question or I ask. I'm always seeking knowledge. Whatever you have to do to remind yourself to ask questions and lead with questions, not leading with products, she does it. And so, I just know that her and Johnson are, hey, I just talked to this guy. I already got my statements. Awesome. Most people, it's like, this person's thinking about it. I'll call them back next week. No, these two are on it. They're not taking away from anybody else on the phone, but I never have to worry about them. There's always quality. They know exactly what I need. They know what we need to do a good job, and they're always getting other people involved. She mentioned it earlier. She said it to her team. She got home office involved. We have advanced markets. We have planning support. Out here, we have Nick Irwin. Back there, we got Ryan Daniels, and of course, we have Scott Jensen. Then we have Kyle Kidwell out here. We have Anthony Sarah back there with product support. They're awesome. I use in my role. It's like she's busy, I'm busy, just in a different way. And then, of course, we have advanced markets too, which is just amazing. And so, again, to all of you, if you're not using all of us, please start using all of us. But also, we've also got that fine line of overwhelming the client who's been doing too much and bringing too many people. I was helping recently in another district out of state. 6 people were involved with 2 clients. Now, we weren't all on the call together, but more and more parties started getting involved, so everybody's got their fingers in there. We all have our specialty. But like I said, on the other hand, from see us as a quarterback or at least a coach, and we're going to get the rest of the team involved. And likewise, Kyle Kidwell's going to get me involved. Ryan Daniels to get me involved and things like that. Long-winded answer to that question, but I
love it.
I don't have to worry about.
Well, here's for everyone on the call, like what's in it for you as far as what we're talking about, right? I always like to kind of do a little bit of a recap halfway through our meeting, just so you know, like what Roger's talking about is everyone here should be at least a referral agent or a financial advisor, right? So if you're not a referral agent, fill out the form, be a referral agent, and then get with your FS and really how can you pivot into that investment conversation, getting that over to either your FS or a financial advisor, and it gives you investment credit. Like this adds to your life grid, right? So we're putting those things together. And really Rogers and all the FSs are really good at training on how to have those conversations. Don't like there's referral agents that are like, well, I'm not licensed. And I go, but can you ask somebody who they're currently working with? Like, it's not that difficult, right? So Roger, I know that we're having you on here today because I really wanted you to talk about some specific products that some of you may not be comfortable with or may not even know the ins and outs of. So I want you to walk away with something. If you have not been listening to Allison, like that is the gold mine of information, how she approaches, how she gets in front of these business owners and what's in it for them and the confidence that she has. So I think that's amazing. You've already got a plethora of information to take and apply immediately. But Roger's going to talk today a bit about some paid up additions. I tasked him to really talk about that. So if you're on the call and you're just like, I'm not sure what that is, how do agents apply that? Like, what's a great client for that? And then anything else that you have, Roger, I know you're always prepared. So I'm gonna give you the floor.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And again, I'm looking at everybody on this call today, and I learned from all these people too. So by any means, I don't know everything. We will talk about a couple of those paid up additions, whether it be life paid up additions or the IUL, some opportunities there, and we're really going to get into what's a good fit for those kind of thing, because you guys, gals, all have your families and clients book of business, whatever you want to call it, out there. You know that better than anybody, but also we need to know before we show, right? And again, I'm cheesy. I say weird things. I say stuff. I take stuff from other people, but we need to know before we show. Okay, so let me bring up something here, and then we will get into some ideas. And if you know all this already, awesome, cool, keep doing it. If you see something here that you used to use and you got away from it for some reason, get back to it, okay? But I wanted to echo what Allison brought up, and this is how I present it to the people I work with. You've got, like she said, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to. But would you rather be in charge now and be comfortable because you're asking the question now? Or would you rather be uncomfortable when somebody else asks you the questions later? Which one would you want? I mean, it's a rhetorical question. I would hope you'd rather be uncomfortable now and not all of a sudden somebody comes up and says, hey, Rusty, why didn't you ever bring this up to him? Well, I did 100 times, but whatever. But what I'm just saying is get comfortable. It's easier said than done. I get uncomfortable all the time, try to throw myself into new things. Total side note, talking to a referral agent earlier today, and I caught myself last week with somebody in this other Cascades Agents district, and I doing a joint appointment with them, and it was a life appointment, and I could have gotten away, just sailed away without bringing up financials, and I could have said, hey, at the next meeting we'll talk about it. But I got myself uncomfortable, and I just found a segue, found a pivot, got it in. That referral agent then made that referral to me. We wrote a couple of IULs, and we're going to visit with them about financial opportunities for his farm business later. So we'll talk about that later, Christy. But what I'm just trying to get at, I could have been uncomfortable. I got uncomfortable. So I'm not perfect by any means. So enough about that. But one thing I wanted everybody on the call here, it looked like mostly financial advisors. I'm sure there's associate agents. I saw team members, referral agents on here. Let's tackle All-Star. I gotta say this. All-Star is, in my 28 years in the industry, 24 with country, this is the most achievable. I know you're probably going, I have to get 12 units and all that stuff. I don't even know where 12 units became such a big deal. We used to have 24 on a rolling 12 just to hit life levels and things like that. But if you break it down, you all know this, 12 life, 6 households. I bet you visit with 6 households this week. That's one household every other month. It's not much. But now we could talk all day about underwriting also. No, I'm not going to talk about that. You're in control of that. But for All-Star, for those of you who are tenured, I know you've got to get 12,500 in life. The way I want you to look at that, that's 10,420 of life. And that's $208,400 of rollover. Because that counts financials, whether you're a referral agent or a financial advisor. That counts towards All-Star. That counts towards the grid. Now, that's for tenure. If anybody on here is enhanced, it's 8,500 total. I want you to look at that as 7,092 in life. Yes, there's the 12 units, 7,092 in life. And all you have to do is find $141,800 for a financial specialist or a financial advisor to help you roll over. Let's tackle this before the end of March, before the end of April, because we've got to get that money rolled over. We've got to get the life through underwriting. Life, I love this all star. So again, I want to set you guys on a cruise and just send me a postcard, okay? So let's talk about this. Leading with questions, not with products, okay? How often do we come away from one of these meetings? We're like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna sell LQAR to everybody. I'm gonna sell IUL to everybody. It's not right for everybody, right? Now, again, for those of you who've been around a long time, think back to the way we used to present things. We used to do good, better, best, term versus this versus all of this, but sometimes we get in our way. We lead with all the products. We spew all these different accounts that we offer, but we don't know anything about that client. So an example, recently, actually it's been about 2 years now, working with an advisor over in Eastern Oregon, and client said, hey, I saw a TikTok video. I want to do an IUL. I want infinite banking. I think this is the best thing. Cool. Come on in. Let's talk about it. So we started having a conversation, and it's the right fit. And that's what we're going to get to today too, is what's a good fit. But until we know some pieces, we don't know if it's a good fit. So this people come in, we're sitting there talking about it, and they just started up a couple of cleaning businesses. Great. What boom, 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 boom. What do you have for emergency fund? Well, if I cashed out this and I did this and everything, I can make it straight together $10,000. Okay. May not be the right fit for you for right now. And now I didn't want to clip their wings and burst their bubble, but I said, let's get you through underwriting. Let's get a term policy. We can always convert it later. Once it's approved, we'll really get into it and see what you do. Now, again, finding out that information. So a couple of things. I've called this for years. Universal life to me is very high maintenance. And it takes a special kind of client to be involved with that. And what I mean by that is, obviously, those are the ones you really need to do and go reviews with, are those universal life policies. So think to yourself, well, after you get to know your client, is this a person that wants to be involved in their life insurance? Do they have the money to do it? Or should I just stick with the term and the whole life and regular automatic monthly or regular annual payments? But if you don't know what is in their checking, or you don't know what they make, how can you recommend a certain kind of product? Same with financials. If I get a referral from a financial advisor or a referral agent, I don't automatically think I'm going to CTV, I'm going to SILAC, I'm going BRS, I'm going to CCMC. If I don't know what they have in checking and savings, I'm not even going to start spouting off all the different things about our history and all the different things we offer. I need to find out a little bit of information. So when we start thinking about LQARs, likelihood of condition writer, start thinking about IULs. If you come to me, and again, I'm going to be nice, I'm not going to switch or anything, but I'm going to say, tell me about this person. Well, I just had a review and he has auto and home. Okay. What does he do for a living? Well, I don't know. How much does he have in checking and savings? I didn't ask him. How much does he make a year? I don't know. Well, those are all pieces. It sounds so basic. Those are all basic pieces of information we need to know before we start going into all the different products. So, I mean, I've been excited before. I mean, I used to be an agent. I was just telling the story. In 1999, if we were writing $1 million face value policy, it was amazing. I mean, people issue $6, $7 million, $8 million policies left and right now with country. Back then, we had to fill out paperwork. We used to have to use fax machines. We used to have to get wet signatures and all this stuff and document why is this person worth $1 million. We're issuing those kind of policies left and right now. But again, we need to know about them before we start telling them all the different ins and outs of this. Everybody on the call, I mean, I wrote down everybody on the call that I've worked with on here. So 15 plus people on here have already heard me talk about this, but I'm going to share it with the other markets. And again, there's no secrets here in the country. Nobody is doing anything groundbreaking. All we're doing is tweaking what we're already doing. We're just sharing ideas. So this right here, and again, for all of you who have heard this before, repetition's good. So I'm going to say it again. When you're thinking about auto and home prospects, okay, you're meeting with them on the phone. You're talking to them on the phone. There's no time limit on the phone to ask questions. So often we think, okay, I got to get in front of them, do the auto and home, and then I can start talking about life insurance. No, there's opportunity on the phone. We never start a phone call and say, I need 13 minutes of your time today. Do you have time? We usually say, hey, they usually say, how long is the appointment going to last? A half hour, hour, whatever. Kind of thing. But on the phone, do we ever set a time limit on the phone? Usually not. I've done cold calls, warm calls, hot calls, whatever you want to call it. I've done them all. But what I encourage you to do, whether you're a financial advisor, whether you're a referral agent, associate agent, team member, whatever position they're in, or take this back to your team if your team's not on here, asking one, maybe two more questions on the phone. If you're doing it already, kudos to you. I love what you're doing. I always think that kudos, I don't mind. They don't even make kudos anymore. Used to love those in elementary school. But half a dime ahead of time. What I'm getting at here is every single one of you, every single one of your teammates. Now we're talking prospects, I'll talk about clients in a second. But when you're talking to prospects, you're going through it. What's your deductibles? What's your liability limit? How much is your home insured for? One, if you don't ever ask another question on that call, after you say how much is your home insured for, ask how much do you still owe on your home? And you could stop the call, drop that receiver right there, and not have to ask anything else. You'll have already found out a quarter of their life insurance. Now, Matt Bear, I was working with in Central Missouri. He goes, I mean, since the email later, he goes, Roger, I asked that question. They paid off their house. Awesome. Did you ask them if they have any other debts? Did you start going down and asking another question and trickling down the questions? But even if you don't ask anything else, now, whether it's you, whether it's your teammate, when you get together with the client and say, hey, we're going to go over your auto and home today. I also worked up an estimate to make sure your family stays in this house should something happen to you tomorrow. And we're going to go over that today. I already have a quarter of the life need there. Personally, district leaders don't tell anybody at corporate this. I don't subscribe to the whole 2-pager life insurance number. I think it's almost too much until we really find out what we can get in a policy for underwriting. So the other part of the half a dime ahead of time is you're going through the auto insurance. How many of you are asking, you ask this, I'll say, what's your deductible? What's your liability? How much, how many miles do you drive one way to work? Okay, great. You're 17 miles to work one way. Great. What do you do for a living? Okay. How much do you make doing that? How long have you been doing that? If I only ask how much you make, I already found out there's an income continuation money. Plus the debt. They may have more debt, but at least I found out 2 pieces of information, and I did a half a dime ahead of time, just in the normal conversation of finding an opportunity. Now, if you're thinking I'm established, I'm doing reviews, what I want you to do is have your assistant or yourself, or if marketing center is calling and setting an appointment for you, follow up, or we could go, so okay, let me take a step back. If you're the one talking to the client, setting the review, or your teammate is, have them ask those 2 questions. Hey, I know we insure the house right now, and you have a mortgage clause on there. Before the meeting, can you let me know how much you still owe on that house? How many more years you got left? What's your rate? How much is your monthly payment? Now that's for an existing client. Now I've already turned my review into a life meeting, even if I don't even ask another question. Now it's easier said than done, and we've all been comfortable. Met with the same person for 10 years, with chit chat, with DS for a half an hour, or review the auto on a home, great, change the deductible, boom, move on. And then we wait another year before we bring up life insurance. How bad is it to just do a little housekeeping ahead of time? Or ask how many miles they drive on the way to work? Hey, before we meet, what are you doing for a living? No, I just changed my job. Oh, hey, on that note, if you have a 401k from that last employer, why don't you bring that along to the meeting? Just little cues, little pivots, little detours. I was using the word detour yesterday off the roadmap of the commercial. Now everybody on here probably is on iron to do that. But do it every single time. That's the discipline. That's the systematic thing that we have to do. So, a couple little things on there. If you're not using the checklist, I would definitely encourage you to do that. I have an example. I can send it to you later. Use what works. I was there in Minnesota with Allison last October. See Diana Hoverson up there, part of the masterminds. I used to work with her when I was in North Dakota. She's still using a checklist. She's been doing this 30+ years. She's still doing it. Why not do what works? Send them ahead of time. Say, I know we're meeting with Otto in a home. Bring all the other information you have. I offer a wide variety of services. And don't worry about having everything on that list, but I just want to let you know everything I offer. She still uses it, and I remember doing a meeting. I get excited about stuff. But I remember this meeting. She has this really cool green office there at Grand Forks, and I remember these clients come in. They got this big old stack of papers, and they go, Diana, I think I get everything on the list. And right there, I'm just like, this is going to be a good meeting because I can go through the checklist with them, and they've got everything I need. How often do we get to a review? How often do we get to that first meeting? And we have to set the next meeting, which there's nothing wrong with setting the next meeting. But how often do the client say, oh, I wish you would have asked me ahead of time, I would have brought them. Or I didn't know you offered that. Should have told me. So what's wrong in sending a checklist ahead of time and saying, hey, bring as much information as you have. Now I've had people scold me on this, everybody on the call, and say that's too much to ask. Well, if you ask and say I have to have everything and you're mean about it, yeah, that's too much. But if I just say, hey, just gonna send you a list, don't worry about having everything on there. Rusty's on this call, I'm on Rusty. I have his copy of his email because I said after you start using this, Rusty, send me what you write. He says, don't sweat having everything on this. Looking forward to seeing it. Or something to that effect. Now I have to reckon on here, I put a little funny thing right here. Those of you who know me, I do cribbage boards. This says your favorite cribbage board. It's kind of hidden right there. It's kind of like a writer. The Rolling Stones used to ask for green M&Ms on their writers for their shows to make sure the person read all the way through. Well, I just got a referral to a gal that we met with yesterday. She sends me an email, and I have it right here with the notes that she typed it out. She went right through my checklist. It says, I don't know how to play cribbage. I work too much, and I have a new Great Dane puppy. Well, now it broke the ice. We're not just insurance agents. We're not just advisors. Rusty actually puts your favorite beekeeping Pokemon. Some people put a picture of your pet, your favorite sports team jersey. Just something to kind of lighten the mood. And then this morning I was working with a referral agent here. We took this, he's gonna start sending this out, and then he's gonna have this in front of him when he meets with the client to fill in the blanks. It's just kind of spaced out. Nothing. It's nothing special. It's nothing. But if we can do it every time, now we're finding out about them. Then we can determine and help determine what's a good product for them. Because if somebody says I live paycheck to paycheck, that's not going to be a good LPUAR prospect. Or if somebody, it doesn't have any retirement accounts or doesn't have flexibility in payments, I'm not going to recommend an IUL necessarily. Okay, until I find out that information. So enough about that. I just want to run through a few more things here. I hope this is okay, Christine and Kimbra and Jake. Couple things here. Everybody that saw me at Market One kickoff. Simple things. What's on your desk? Do you have something on your desk to bring up to entreat them, the client, and remind you to do a life insurance needs analysis every single client? Do you have anything like that? No. I recommend that you have something, whatever works for you. So let me show you here. It could be as simple as Scott Jensen's suggestion. If I can get rid of my background, there you go. It could be as simple as a life insurance serial box, right? Okay, it sounds cheesy. What's the harm in having this on your box, on your assistant's desk, and they say, why do you have life insurance? Why do you have life box serial on your desk? It's a reminder for me to bring up life insurance. Tony Harmon puts a dime on his desk, so the client starts stitching around, and they say, what's this dime doing on your desk, Cody? It's a reminder for me to the dime and figure out how much life insurance you need. Or you have something that's a simple sign that says, I need to ask you 3 things. When do you want to retire? What are you doing to reach that goal, and what kind of accounts do you have for? Who are you working with, like Christine said? Also, what are your social security benefits? Whatever works for you, something to get them talking about life insurance. Every single meeting should be a life, no matter what. Whether we get the information ahead of time or in person and treat them, it's always got to be a life insurance. Couple other things here. I love life. I love financial stuff, so I get excited about this, and we can always set up one-on-ones afterwards. A lot of the people I have on here, we do have regular students, whether it be for life insurance, financials, and things like that. Those of you who are in Arizona, to use the city, I would reach out to Marcy and Dennis and see if you're on their schedule. Those two know so much stuff. I'm always learning from them. about life opportunities and things like that. We challenge each other from time to time and sound off ideas. But you all have wonderful resources out there. The biggest thing here, and you'll all hear me say this, is we've got to get them to the right. Be direct with them. Don't beat around the bush. Do you want to start your underwriting process? Do you want to think about it? I've asked those questions. Looking back, I wish I could just kind of slap my younger self and say, "Oh gosh, you're better than this." Okay, but we got to get them to and through it right. Why do we recommend all these products? Why do we spend all this time teaching about all the ins and outs? Now, there's certain ones we need to get into the weeds with, but and get them to underwriting. But think about it. How many times have you told them about term versus whole life versus universal versus all this, and you don't take the app? And then you're like, well, I'll call you next week. We'll set up something. We've all done it. Be direct and say, I do this with all my clients. I get them to and through underwriting. Then we get into the details. I put the return premium writer on every term policy I submit. We can always take it away later, but we need to figure out something that fits within your budget. Take that objection away from them. They're always going to say, I can't afford life insurance, or I only want term or things like that. No problem. If they say I only want term, submit it as a term. Don't fight it. Don't do that. Happened a couple of years ago. I was at a farm client meeting, and we're sitting there, and the advisor told them all about LP65 versus 10 pay versus 20 pay versus whole life versus LQAR. And the client goes, hey, we discussed it. We just want to do term. And the advisor kept going off about whole life. Never got the app. I tried to spin it around, say, let's just take the app. Didn't get it. Pick up on those cues. It doesn't matter when it's going through underwriting. We can always take it. So, walk down, ask up. Anybody on the call want to tell everybody what that is? Everybody on the call that I work with knows. And I'm just gonna go for it. We're getting short on time. Basically, what it is you shoot for the moon with life insurance. Go with the big number. How many times I've heard people say, "Well, we have a $750,000 need, but we submitted it for $250." Why? Why'd you only submit it for $250? If you didn't take any money and buy and cover it, shoot for $750, right? We can put the drop on there. We can always go backwards. But well, I know that in my mind. I don't argue with them. I don't try to pigeonhole it within a budget, because what if they get preferred? What if they get preferred blood? What if they get rated? What if they get declined? And I spent all that time trying to fit within a budget, but yet then I take a step back. I don't even know what they have in checking and savings. I don't even know how much they make. Think about it. You've all been there, okay? The ask up, once a policy is issued, approved, not issued, approved, send an email to your life team. You say, hey, thanks for issuing that policy on Christian Garcia. How much additional coverage can Christian get without additional items? Do that on every single policy, whether it's rated, whether it's a kid policy, whatever. Ask every single time. I had a guy argue with me. I didn't do the ask up because he didn't need one. Just ask, because then you have it in writing. Guys, I been fortunate to help with the biggest policy that I've ever been a part of, helping a client. Got $1 million policy issued, table rate B. This is back in Iowa. $1 million policy, and I said to the advisor, "Oh, did you do the ask up?" "Oh no, they only need $1 million." Before he went to Life Team 3 or whatever it was back there, the client says, "I actually want 1.2. Can I get 1.2 million?" She wanted $400,000 for each of her kids. The advisor finally emailed Life Team at table rate B, and they said, "We'll give her 1.36 million." But he had it in writing. Don't ever assume that they're just going to issue that policy. But they ended up only taking $1 million, but the annual premium was $101,000 for the next 10 years. So never hurts to ask on there. Really quick here, apologize. I would love to talk with you all more in detail later about what the best fit is. But until you know what they have, again, don't automatically leave with this. There's some ins and outs with the life data additions writer. They made some changes over the years. It's fun to front load it and do those things. We can talk about commissions. We can talk about credit and all that stuff later. But until you know what they have in checking and savings, until you know more about them, these may not be the right fits. IUL, I loved IUL, especially when we're talking for kids. That one for Cascade Agency the other day. they have $4,000 sitting in the account for each of the kids, sitting there getting very little, but they're not sure if the kids are gonna go to school. But we wanna do the guaranteed insurance option, and we wanna do some other options with them and have that as a loan option for them down the road and things. The biggest thing, I talked to a couple people really quick, last thoughts, LPUAR, where people have had a lot of success with that. Realtors, people that have a lot of money when the market's good, market's not that great right now. Real estate investors, possibly farmers too. Okay, now there's some flexibility, same with the IUL on there. Some options with that if we know what they have. So again, I got off track a little bit there, Christine and Kimbra and Jake today, but I don't know, I get excited about this stuff because we need to know before we show though. And again, I know you're all gonna go out there and start thinking about your clients, thinking about what you know or don't know about the clients. Pick up the phone, get the info, set the meeting, get them to and through underwriting, walk down, ask up, all that fun stuff. So back over. It's not fun.
Thanks, Roger. No, this is great. I'm sure out of all that information, whether it be takeaways from Allison, thank you so much for all of your great knowledge and in-depth takeaways for people. And Roger, it's the little things that you can't jump over, because then you're not providing that full holistic service for your client, right? Making sure you're putting them in the right product. So so this is great. All right. I hope all of you enjoyed the call. I really hope that that you were like, I took a whole page of notes myself, on that. So before I let you all go, Jake, Kimbra, anything you want to add before we let them all go?
No, I thought it was great. Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Allison. Great information.
Yeah, hey, Roger, can you send out the checklist stuff that you had that had?
Yep, I'll send out both versions and it'll be in the chat. If you guys and gals have trouble downloading, just send me an email, I'll send them to you, but I'll attach them in there.
Hey, you both are awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Let's have a great year on to All-Star. Good.
Thank you.